when you start a class or when people come to when these instructors come to the class, what do they think the biggest deficiencies are that they need to overcome for maybe themselves, but also for obviously the people that they're instructing back at their own departments or whatever else? And how do those stack up to what you see as being the biggest deficiencies? Can we talk through this?
Yeah. What I have found, and you can speak on it, from what I have found is, honestly, it's programming at their range. How do we conduct training, more or less? And when you come to our class, we give you absolutely everything we have. We give you our notes to our courses, the PowerPoint, everything we have to give you, we try to give you. But it is absolutely, hey, how do I get this drill to flow with this? Hey, these are my issues on the range doing it this way. How do I circumvent that and implement this drill? A lot of it is just, hey, how do I take a bare bone shooter and create some sort of structure to improve them? Kind of like more or less a transition course, if you will. That is personally what I have found is that a lot of people have struggled with.
So it's not about what they're actually teaching them to do with the firearm. It's how they're teaching them how to do it as an instructor and make it work so they're getting the most out of their class rather than, again, just following this tick list. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, I think, and you still have some of those people who are clickbaiting, pinning the trigger to the right. Like you still have that. That's
what I kind of was talking about, I guess.
Yeah, it's fortunately, it's kind of starting to get, when we first started years ago, it was like half the class would pin the trigger to the rear on reset, and it seems like there's enough, whether it's information out on the social media, whatever it is, it's getting out that like, hey, certain things are not ideal. But how to implement a full structured program is tough. And we go to for example, a force on force. I've had this conversation ad nauseum, even with people in our own department, other departments, of how do you conduct force on force? And I've been to force on force instructor schools, which, to be honest, I didn't even like how they did it. I think if you're going to implement a force on force program, a lot of the most important things aren't even being addressed. Hey, what did you even see when you pulled the trigger? Where were your sights? There's zero accountability. And force on force classes.
That comes up pretty often.
Yeah, zero accountability. And if somebody misses, the argument is always, it's a sim guns. They're not accurate. It's like, no, man, let's go to the range. We'll put you at 10 yards. I guarantee you all these sim guns will hit a torso at 10 yards. Don't blame that. I could see in your shooting, you weren't looking at your sights at all. And it's issues like that. You dress up like the Michelin Man. That isn't helpful in force on force either. There's no repercussions for bad tactics. Role player responsibilities. Hey, you're a role player. You get shot. Act like you got shot. Stop fucking around. Stop doing other things, running around. Because now, instead of validating something proper that they actually did, now you just kind of set them up for failure. Now we're just playing paintball, running around. So a lot of it is just range programming, structuring, what to look for in shooters, how to kind of build this crawl, walk, run type of format in courses. So
I get that. That's where you're seeing their biggest deficiencies are, right? In coming in. I'm curious to hear your take too, Jesse. But I also want to know, and that's, you're recognizing this. Do they even recognize this before they show up? Or is this something that they're getting while they're working with you guys?
Yeah, I think it's kind of both. So oftentimes in our classes, we have like a wide variety of experience levels. Mm-hmm. So we'll have dudes that typical, they're right? Just, burning it down. And then there's other dudes that are like, maybe is a little advanced for them, right? Some dudes that show up, and we don't just teach red dot, right? But talking about like the red dot stuff, it's like some dudes show up, they're like, oh, I just put it on last night, right? And then other guys are like, I've been shooting with it for 3 years, right? So, but we still hold them to a standard, because if we're going to give them a certificate and say that you passed our I hate using the word standard, but that you passed,
the requirement,
our requirements, right? To be a instructor. And we don't fail a lot of people. We try to work with people and get them to pass, because their agencies are spending money. They're spending money. And realistically, you don't need a post certificate to teach this stuff to your guys, but the department wants that validation that, hey,
it's also covering your ass.
It is a CYA thing for sure. But yeah, like Wayne was talking about, when we first started this thing too, there was guys that, were doing things like click banging, or they were, the certain things that they were doing with their fundamentals were just way off. And then we'd talk about something like you'd see eyes open, like, what?
Yeah.
Where now it's because of social media and other instructors out there that are teaching a lot of the same stuff, which is great, right? You get a lot of people just like head nods, right? Like, yep. I know
heard
that.
this. I've practiced this. I've seen this.
Still a lot of dudes that
are not earth or profound information to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And still a lot of dudes that are maybe doing things, not correct or not as efficient, but they maybe know and they go, yeah, I know it's something I need to work on. Right. So we have seen a big shift in that. We've also seen a big shift in from the beginning of making our first post class, which was the red dot class. That was our first post class that we wrote. Seeing the pushback from all these departments, right?
Talk about that.
So when we first started this thing, we would ask at the beginning of the class, like, who's here on their own dime? We'd see a huge group of people raising their hand, like, okay, why are you here? Well, I'm trying to change the mindset for our department, right? I'm trying to get our admin, or I'm trying to get the chief or whoever it is to change the mindset on pistol red dot stuff. And we would ask, hey, who's getting pushback from their agencies? Half the class or more would raise their hand, right? And now we're to the point where most of our classes, nobody's raising their hand. Or you might get one person that's like, yeah, we're still getting a little pushback. It might be a bigger agency, like either a 3-letter agency or a state agency or something like that, going like, yeah, we still get a little pushback, but I'm trying to change that mindset. For the vast majority of them, their agency's sending them to the class now. Like, they all want to transition because they see, and a lot of the times a lot of these agencies follow along their big agency, right? So, if it's a LA County thing and they see LAPD doing it, now all these little agencies go, oh, we got to do that now, right? So they're just following along with what the big agency did.